It's time for Measure Twice.
Welcome to Measure Twice. I'm Rob Perugini, along with Chris Kramer from C. Kramer Interiors and Joel Graber from Graber Customer Modeling. This is the show that helps you envision your home's potential, and you're listening to us on Michiana's News Talk 95.3 MNC. We're brought to you in part by Leatherman Supply, everything windows, doors, cabinets, and countertops, with the showroom now open in Granger next to C. Kramer Interiors and Hoosier Hardwood Floors, Michiana's trusted and valued experts on hardwood floors. You can visit them at HoosierHardwoodFloors.com. It's a glorious morning, I think. Don't you think?
Truly glorious.
Everything is right with the world because Joel's wearing something that says Graber Customer Modeling on it, which is...
When isn't he?
I haven't seen a day. We've remarked that he guaranteed has a tattoo of that logo on the left.
Over my heart.
Yeah, right over his heart. We just got to get C. Kramer Interiors now, some more C. Kramer Interiors swag, or any.
Yeah.
That
definitely needs to happen.
No, it does not.
Chris says firmly. A badge? How about like a designer's badge? Like get you like some paperwork?
No name tags. Nope.
Something in your wallet, maybe a flip wallet where you can go like, hi, ma'am.
Yeah, like
just the design facts.
My badge.
Yeah. It's like, is there an association of designers, Chris? Is there an organization?
Yeah. ASID is one.
ASID, we got a 981 in progress here. We've got Paisley with Tartan.
Works well.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Wow, I thought that clashed.
No.
Really?
No.
You don't know what tartan is, do you?
It's like the Scottish pattern, right?
It's a plaid.
The plaid. Yeah, I couldn't think of the...
that...
Paisley and plaid go together.
Yeah.
Tell me more, Chris.
Well.
Why?
What? Because I thought that there were two patterns.
They are two patterns.
That seems like that'd be really busy.
And I didn't think that you could put two patterns.
One's very linear and one's has more movement to it, so they complement. No, you put Paisley and plaids all the time.
Okay. I see that now. I didn't think of that. You just have to have the right colors, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. I go monochromatic plaid and monochromatic.
Hey, they're out there.
Really? Mm-hmm. There's a monochromatic plaid?
Yeah. Just very neutral.
It's called a barcode.
Exactly.
We're going for a postmodern barcode look for the living room. No, that's my Wild Bill from Silence of the Lambs impersonation, by the way.
Nice.
So you can this isn't what I plan to talk about, but we're on it now, so I'm going to take a second.
He's intrigued.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah, because I thought, like Joel just said, that when you have two patterns, that's rough territory.
Oh, gosh.
It could be very busy.
Right. Not
if it's done right. Because you have to, it's called layering. You layer your patterns.
So if you're looking
you have to scale them appropriately.
When you
so
say
if you have
scale
a plaid couch, are you throwing Paisley pillows on it?
You could, or floral.
Well, that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
Like if you have a Paisley couch, can you throw plaid pillows on it?
I would never do a Paisley. I would typically do something in a neutral fabric, and with my pillows would be plaid and Paisley, or plaid and floral, or
so the
ticking stripes.
What's ticking?
Ticking stripe. It's a narrow, like a mattress, old mattress ticking.
Oh, like seersucker suit?
Kind of, but without the seersucker.
Yeah, I just meant, like, just to put a visual, like the blue, like you see that's an old match. I mean, not everybody gets that reference.
Oh, seersucker?
No, seersucker and the mattress.
Ticking.
And the ticking for mattresses, specifically, because mattresses exclusively used to have that.
Because you'll see checks with ticking stripe mixed, so yeah, there's all.
Are there any kind of things coming out that you've seen recently that you would consider wild? Like, wow, that's innovative, or that's
innovative.
Yeah, like not just plaid, but plaid with something on the same fabric. I'm picking plaid, but like
I've seen plaid with, or a check with a Paisley print together
on the same fabric. And it worked?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is then, because there are certain colors you wouldn't necessarily put together?
Yeah.
Is there patterns? Or
Are there patterns that don't work together?
Yeah.
Sure. But
Do you just know them when you see them? Or are there some rules?
There's some rules. I mean, the scales have to be right. So in other words, if you're layering pattern, let's say you're doing something with the floral is the larger pattern, then the next pattern you mix is smaller so that they're kind of visually balanced together.
That's important to know.
that is
important to
I
know.
wouldn't have
The scale has
How long
to
have we
be
been
right.
doing this? And this is the first time.
never talked about this.
He's like keeping secrets
Yes, he is.
because
Damn, I can't give all my secrets away.
he's like, nobody will need him. He'll be alone,
No, I need him.
designing by a fireplace alone. Yeah, I just picture Chris not whittling, but like just designing. Like, like he'll be like a grandpa in his
Yeah.
hundreds sitting
Moving.
on the porch.
Just moving stuff around.
Well,
Yeah.
it's interesting because when, like having an Oriental rug, a lot of people think you can't put pattern with an Oriental rug, and it's like, yes, you can.
But when you say with, though, you mean furniture, wallpaper, pillows.
Sofa, chairs, pillows, drapery.
So what you're saying is like the misnomer is that if you have an Oriental rug, everything else has to be plain. Is that what you're saying? Everything else has to
That's
be
the
kind of
misnomer, yeah.
Yeah, everybody thinks that, I have a Oriental rug, so my sofa has to be solid.
solid. Yeah, I just wanna-
Not necessarily. It could be depending on the rug and depending on the fabric. So here's your plaids with your paisley.
Okay, yeah. The paisley's a lot bigger than I expected.
Well, the scaling I think is something
Yeah.
that is interesting because
This is all Ralph Lauren because this is like his specialty.
so Chris is showing Joel like pictures of this. So
And you see the different plaids mixed together
Yes. Yep.
and
so can you scale plaids?
yeah.
What does that mean?
That means that the pattern is some plaids might have a larger square
Stripe.
pattern and some are a little bit smaller. Some might have multiple, lines of color more so than another. So
Isn't
you
that
can
just a different plaid?
But I mean, okay, so that's what I was trying to say. Is like, what's the scale? How do you? What's the scale?
scale
part?
is the size of the box on a plaid, right?
Okay, that's what I was getting at. Like, what is the scale on that?
Scale is the size of a pattern. So you can have a large floral pattern
With large flowers or large bouquets
correct.
on there, like big. With plaid, then there would be large boxes or large striping.
you have plaids, you have checks, you have window pane. So you've got all kinds of different
right.
houndstooth.
So when you're saying scale, there's a mama bear scale, and then
There's
so
the drapery with the floral, with the
Yes.
plaid sofa,
And paisley pillow.
paisley pillow.
if you do something
And
like
a poorly dressed man.
No, he's very well dressed.
Oh, I mean, a really well dressed man.
The sofa, not so much, but
Yeah.
that's a little much for my taste.
do you scale from furniture piece to furniture piece?
All has to be scaled properly.
Would you?
But what I think,
Would you
what
want
are you
to-
saying is like if you have one piece and it has a certain scale, do you want to match that scale?
Yeah, that's what I'm at. That's exactly what I was thinking. Do you want to match that scale with your furniture then?
The fabric or the
Fabric, yeah.
No, not necessarily. Well, yeah, yes, somewhere in some respects.
Okay, what
I was
respects?
trying to think. Wait a minute. Well, no, I don't know. I've done.
So let's say you have an Oriental carpet,
Yep.
right? And generally Oriental carpets, well, just give us the quick and dirty of like generally what does an Oriental carpet look like generally?
They're patterned.
What kind of patterns do they do?
Well, there's multiple.
There's multiple
There's all
patterns.
kinds
Right.
of.
So they have a pattern,
Yes.
and then you have a sofa, or you have a furniture configuration,
Correct.
right? Could be sofa chair, probably sofa chair. Which is the next most important thing to look at? Do you look at the sofa and the chair and they are matchy, or can they be different?
They can be different.
Are you talking about pattern scale?
Pattern scale, yeah.
Yeah, you could have a solid sofa with a pattern on a chair.
But the scale part would be similar.
No,
They were both patterned?
Yeah,
Like if they were both patterned.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. If they're both patterned, would the scales have to match on your furniture?
Oh no. No. Like for example, if I had, let's say I had a plaid sofa and then I wanted to do a floral on the chairs or a paisley on the chairs, then I would look for the appropriate scale between the two so they complement each other rather than get too busy.
Gotcha. And then, yeah, because we're talking, there are some people listening, I promise you, they're like, that sounds busy. I mean, busy, right? Not everybody wants to see all that.
And that's true. It's
But man, if
a
it's
look.
done right,
It's cool.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the funny thing is like Chris has talked about that a lot. It's like when it comes together, you know it and you get that feeling. It's more of a
See,
feeling.
the scale of that's different than the scale of that.
That's a lot bigger.
All right, when we come back, let's talk a little bit more about scale. This is Measure Twice. Welcome back to Measure Twice. I'm Rob Perugini, along with Joel Graber from Graber Customer Modeling and Chris Kramer from C. Kramer Interiors. This is the show that helps you envision your home's potential. And thanks for listening to us on Michiana's News Talk 95.3 MNC. We're brought to you in part by Leatherman Supply. Everything windows, doors, cabinets, and countertops. With the showroom now open in Granger, right next to C. Kramer Interiors and Hoosier Hardwood Floors. Michiana's trusted and valued experts on hardwood floors. You can visit them at HoosierHardwoodFloors.com. We're diving into the scale of things. Then these are the days of our lives. Like, I'm just kidding. Ooh, well, there was a soap opera. There was
The Days of Our Lives.
Yeah, is that the right one?
Mm-hmm. Like Sands Through the Hourglass.
Yes.
Those are the days of our lives. So are the days of our lives.
So, yes.
So, man, you know it all.
That was Erica Kane was on there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, they were on in the background, but.
Yeah. When I was a kid, my grandmother watched them. They were her stories.
Yeah.
We didn't miss her stories.
Yes.
That's what she called it.
Mother-in-law was like that, too.
She called them her stories, and I thought they were almost as boring as shoe shopping.
Oh, they're terrible.
Ugh.
Well, I shouldn't say that because who knows?
Well,
it's like Hallmark movies.
Beholder. I mean, it's like a daily Hallmark movie.
That's right.
I feel like I should be offended by that, but I'm not.
We can't get Joel hooked on stories.
Okay. He's working during the day, so he has no time to worry about
DVRing a soap opera every day.
Wait, I can't pound that nail. I got to catch up here. It's my story time.
What do you care what I do on my lunch hour?
That's right.
I can't miss this one.
All my children, General Hospital.
Growing up, General Hospital, when I was in late middle school, everybody watched General Hospital.
Was that
Luke and Laura?
Luke and Laura, yeah.
Luke and Laura. I didn't, but my friends all knew what was going on.
Yeah, it's like Luke and Laura. It's like, ugh.
Yeah, couldn't do it. You're missing out.
I guess I
missed
am.
it.
The only soap opera I ever watched that I thought was really cool was Dark Shadows.
Dark Shadows, yeah.
And the nuns used to tell us in school not to watch it.
That's
Well,
why
then of
you
course
watched
you
it.
watched
And
it.
so
Yeah.
then we'd run home from school, right after school, and guess what was on? Dark Shadows.
That's what you have to be careful of, Chris, because if you tell people not to do something, they might do the
Well, I
opposite.
wasn't listening to it. I liked the show before they even told us not to, but
Once you heard you weren't supposed to do
Dad
it,
wasn't even
made
like,
it better.
yeah,
You were a bad boy.
Forget this. Yeah, I was a rebel.
He started using like a little dollop will do you, like hair cream, and he got a leather jacket. Became part of the
I was a
T-Birds. Oh wait, that was Grease.
I was a third grade rebel.
Third grade rebel.
He didn't put like regular cards in his spokes. Only the Ace of Spades.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. We used to do that.
Oh yeah, that was the thing.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Yep, I remember that. Yep.
Do you know what we're talking about?
I do know what you're
Okay.
talking about. I didn't do that, but
What?
I lived in the country on a. I mean, you had to go a mile to get to the next person.
Everybody was in super good shape back then. To see anybody, you had to be able to.
You couldn't figure out how to put it on the horse.
That's right. That's right.
The horse.
It never made any noise.
Oh, they made noises.
The one time we tried to,
prizes.
stick it somewhere that it would stay, it didn't like.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What have you learned this segment, folks? Well, You've learned that you can't stick a card to a horse.
That's right.
That's right.
Just won't. And if you do, it's in a place they don't want it.
That's right.
There you go. Did you really have horses, though?
No.
I didn't think so.
Our neighbor did.
Of course. Of course. The neighbor a mile away did?
No, I mean, like, it was right up. It was like the fence ran right up to our property. And,
So the horses would hang out. Okay,
yeah, we
that's
could go
good.
and pet them and stuff.
We better hurry up and start talking about stuff.
I know, right?
Jeez. Okay, so we're talking about, like, the scale of patterns when you're decorating, when you're, you know.
Man, scale goes to everything, though. I mean, when I was thinking about it, like, because the scale of the pattern matters, and then I would imagine the scale of your furniture matters.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. What
Scale, the size of your lamps matter against the size of your sofa and the end tables.
Is there a rule of thumb, or you just have to, like, step back and use your eye?
I can't say there's a. It's not like here's the formula.
Right.
3/4 this, 1/4.
Right.
It's not like that.
Right.
It's not a recipe.
It's not a recipe. It's just visual.
But you just kind of, like, when you look at it.
When you see it and you're like, nope.
So does it get difficult then if you're buying, because these would be considered accessories, right? Like a lamp is an accessory, right?
Lamps are accessories. Pillows are accessories.
Okay. So
Rugs are accessories.
Right. What isn't an accessory then?
Mainly your main furniture pieces, sofas, chairs.
Gotcha.
And tables.
And tables are not accessories.
Right. Okay. So when you're looking at an accessory, it might be difficult to look online then and get real true scale, right?
Yep.
That's
For anything, sofas, anything, it's hard to get
Your
the
pattern, I would imagine, would be hard to get a scale from online, too.
because you need to see a picture of the whole room then.
You need fabrics. You need samples. You need to look at samples.
Right. Of fabric, but you might not always have that ability with a lamp. Like, you can't order a sample lamp.
No, but I can look at it. I usually, when I'm picking out lamps, that's not hard.
That's not.
Because most of your lamps are not necessarily patterned.
Well, I just meant like scale, like size of lamp. Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
you
that's
have
not-
there's a general height that you look for, like 30 inches for an end table is good.
Right.
So buffet lamps are typically taller.
What is a buffet lamp?
Yeah, what is that?
The tall, thin lamps that you put on a buffet.
At the carving station? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, they're called buffet lamps. There is a specific, it's called a buffet lamp.
And those
What
lamps
do
are
those
not-
look like?
They're thinner, taller.
I guess I think I'm trying to read Joel's mind there. Do they like cast light straight down? Like
They're just like a regular lamp. They light just like a regular lamp. Shade.
shade. Okay,
Shade
shade.
itself,
That's
okay.
what I meant. Yeah, I couldn't articulate what I was.
Yeah.
Like the kind that just have a bulb, and like we don't want that.
Buffet lamps are and they typically go on a buffet or a sofa
So, like,
table
on
or
either
something
sides.
long.
So it might be something behind a sofa,
Yes.
and then like that
Or in the dining room.
on a buffet.
On a
in the
buffet.
dining room, right. Well, but a sofa table is kind of like the buffet table in the living room, right?
Yeah, right.
We're splitting hairs here.
but they're just a tall, thin lamp. Like that.
Okay.
You've seen them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, tall. Yeah, basically.
And they're thin
But it's not a floor lamp.
But they're thin because the scale is appropriate for the size of the piece that it's going on.
Right. So the lamps that have like a vase underneath, what are they called?
An urn lamp. An urn.
That's different. If they're big and you have two on either side, that can be kind of overpowering to look at, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And sometimes the size of your shade, if the diameter of the shade is if the diameter is too wide, especially if you're putting it on like a buffet that's against a wall, you have to be careful because the shade will hit the wall and not center on the table. So you have to be careful with the size of the shade.
And it's always looking like the lamp is tipping its hat to you. Top of the morning.
Yeah,
to you.
it drives me crazy. Crooked shades drive me crazy.
That would be like not something that's good.
Do you do patterned shades?
You can. They're cool. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you pattern the shade, it's obviously to scale of whatever's on the lamp.
No, well, usually if you're having a pattern shade, you have a solid color on the lamp or a brass lamp or something that can handle the pattern.
And
Does
there's a
that change the color of the light then?
Maybe a little bit, but it's still it's pretty.
Well, I think there's different kinds of shades for that, Joel, because I think there's shades that have a liner that make it so no light escapes through the shade. And I think then there's also shades that let light through, and that would be, I guess, less tasky lighting, right, if it's going through the shade than if you had.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm assuming you can pattern either.
You know what gets me with shades, though? First of all, they're the chair to table, because the shade can cost as much as the lamp.
Shades are expensive.
Yeah. All right.
I've always been shocked with that.
I think I know I've seen shades that were more expensive than the lamp. Like the lamp was.
Nah.
You mean to tell me if you put a fancy shade
lamp
on that buffet lamp, it would be more expensive than that buffet lamp?
No, I mean, if you do a really nice silk shade, they're like $85 to $100. The lamps are $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10,000, $12 on up.
You name it. Well,
you be surprised.
Chris just proved you can pay whatever you want for whatever you want.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I see lamps for $2,000.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. Actually,
not that we sell many of those, but I've seen them. They're out there.
Right. Well, it depends on what they're made of, how they're made, what they look like, how big they are.
It's interesting. It's always interesting to me that when and you guys will find this out when you are looking at market and you're going through a showroom and you're looking at a lamp or whatever.
We got hold that. I'm cutting you off because I got in trouble from John. But let's pick that up.
I saw the timeout.
Yeah, let's pick that up when we come back. This is Measure Twice. Welcome back to Measure Twice. I'm Rob Perugini, along with Chris Kramer from C. Kramer Interiors and Joel Graber from Graber Custom Remodeling. This is the show that helps you envision your home's potential, and you're listening to us on Michiana's News Talk 95.3 MNC. We're brought to you in part by Leatherman Supply, everything windows, doors, cabinets, and countertops, with the showroom now open in Granger right next to C. Kramer Interiors, and Hoosier Hardwood Floors, Michiana's trusted and valued experts on hardwood floors. You can visit them at HoosierHardwoodFloors.com. We're designing your home. When you get back to wherever you are driving from, it'll be different when you get home. Okay, we're not actually at your house, but you might look at it differently because we're talking about scale and design and all the different facets to that, because there's scale in the size of furniture, there's scale in patterns, there's scale in your accessories, there's scale. You're surrounded by it, and I think it's what makes it all work.
Mm-hmm.
Is when things are out of proportion, you feel funky.
No, and Joel deals with scale too. I mean, the right size windows. When you're remodeling or adding on, you have to have the right size windows, and all of that plays into scale too.
Absolutely, you can't. Sometimes, right? You run into things like scale when you're redoing a kitchen. Are these cabinets too monstrous for your space, or or not big enough? They're too small for the space, or
usually it's the latter, too small.
You got that. Usually it's too small, and you know it when it's too big because you can't get in the room.
See, and I'm thinking more of height and things of that nature, like taking cabinets to the ceiling versus stopping them at a certain height and having that gap.
Right.
I hate that.
I do too.
I do too, and I have the gap in my house.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's okay.
He's got the gap.
Yeah.
Be careful, Rob's got the gap.
Don't get too close to him.
Well, I have a salve, so no. But that is important. Like there are rooms when you're remodeling that you really do have to cover that. That's where drawings come in, right, Chris?
Oh yeah.
Joe, a proper drawing.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like try not to do a job without a drawing.
Yeah. Well, and we were just talking about some drawings this morning, and like what, depending on placement of a door, can affect how everything would be scaled in the room.
What do you mean? Go elaborate on that.
If it's put in the wrong place, then it's a bedroom. You couldn't if it's closer to centered, you lose the room for if you want a king size bed.
I think what precipitated that conversation was, how do we add make this a master suite? If we put a door on the bed wall, we could go into the next bedroom and make that a closet/bathroom.
Right.
But the problem with putting a door on a bed wall is now you've lost 30 inches of wall space for your bed. And so if you may not be able to put you may not be able to put nightstands. You might have a bed with one nightstand versus two.
And you have to take into account your walkway area. You just can't crowd all of this.
Yeah. Yep.
That messes up your scale.
Right. And then
it feels weird.
You might wake up, at this moment be, as the homeowner going, you know what, I can live without a nightstand.
No, you can't.
And then, then realize a year from now, I'm just putting one there. And then that's when you get it gets funky. You're like, is that nightstand in the doorway? Is it, that seems a little close, and it's because in the beginning you didn't scale.
Yeah.
And
that's where designers come in, that they help you see that before you decide to make that decision and hopefully save you from making a mistake that actually causes more issues than it solves.
Yeah, it's something regrettable that was avoidable.
Correct.
And it's as simple as where does this door make it so that this wall can't have a bed on it? So now it's eliminated forever.
And the room we're talking about in particular only has one wall that the bed can go on because everything else is windows.
And it's now going to have a door.
Or a fireplace.
Or a fireplace, yeah.
Or a fireplace. There's exciting things going on with Measure Twice, by the way.
Yes.
We just don't want to let the cat out of the bag.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
We don't want to.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned, though. There's some cool stuff going on. And this has a little to do with that, so we'll just digress from there. But when you were Chris, you were mentioning something when we went off the air, and I rudely stopped you.
You did. We were out of time. Oh well.
But we have plenty of time now.
Yeah, I got to remember what we were talking about. I'm just joking. I remember.
We cleared it.
No, I think we were talking about lamps and the scale of lamps, the design of lamps. Lamps are basically anymore art forms for your
and the cost of lamps
and the cost of lamps.
Cost.
But what's interesting to me is when I look at a lamp, you're just thinking, oh, it's a lamp. Why that's $1,000? Why?
Well, I love lamp. I'm sorry
but then when you find out how this particular item is manufactured and all the steps it takes, and it's not just we just put these parts together and made a lamp. There's a lot of craftsmanship behind it, a lot of artistry, and a lot of specialized materials that they use, which determines the overall cost.
Right.
But to look at something and just say, oh, that's $1,000. Why? There's a reason why it's $1,000, and you'll see all of that at market.
When you look at an IKEA lamp,
Sparky, as we call it.
Sparky.
I go, is it safe to plug in?
But you see where now that's like a mass production.
It's meant to hit a price point.
Yeah.
Right.
And, look, are they going to burn down? I'm sure that.
They're not.
No, it's just fun to make the
It's
jokes.
fun to poke fun at them. But one thing's for sure, you are not one in a million.
No.
You're one in 10 million of those lamps. And it's not really custom. It's not really yours.
And more specialized lamps, I don't think you're going to find millions of them out there.
No.
No, you're going to, because
close.
you can't possibly produce art at that scale and still be art.
Correct.
It ceases to be art.
There were some beautiful lamps back in the day when they were actually hand painted by Japanese artisans, and they were all signed, and those are gone now because the artists all died off and retired, and nobody picked it up.
Right.
And absolutely beautiful. And again, those are pieces of art. Those, again, there were a lot of more floral and things of that nature, but adding that to a room just adds such a beautiful layer that you don't get from IKEA.
You just don't get, yeah, right. And
but it's not intended for that.
Right.
IKEA is not intended for that.
IKEA is utilitarian style.
Correct.
That's I am going to wear gray slacks and a gray jacket and report to work and salute everybody at work. No, I'm just kidding.
So, and an armband.
Very Orwellian type existence, but it's fine if you're. And I'm not trying to beat on it. I get it. It's a price point.
It is, and it's not.
But I knew a designer in town who bought IKEA bookshelves and put it in her home as a new build, and they were beautiful. You didn't know they were
right
IKEA. So how you mix things and balance things. You could make an IKEA piece look like $1 million bucks.
Because not everything has to be $1 million bucks in the room.
Right, absolutely
That's
not.
scale too, right? That your the finances behind building a room is also a scale. You don't want to spend $1 billion on every single thing. You want to spend the money properly, on what you should spend it on.
Yeah, and when you put something inexpensive with something expensive, it elevates the less expensive item.
Mm-hmm. Right. Unless that less expensive item is super tacky, in which case it brings down everything.
Yeah, it can.
It can. Like if you have like glossy lips just in the corner, everything else in the room is less.
Your the leg lamp.
Your leg lamps. Your
that only comes out for Christmas.
Yeah. Your what are they? The merry-go-round ponies. Whatever they are. Those lamps.
Like a music box?
What would be interesting to do with a leg lamp is you can get a pair of them and do an elongated shade that's pleated so it looks like a skirt.
There you go. And then you know who the perverts are because they sit under that lamp. You're like, that's my eyeballing seat. You don't want that.
That's funny.
Then you could get 2 hams and put them under there and then no.
My word.
Yeah, that's not good.
We're going too far with that.
That's a little over the line there. But that's why you don't do that, Chris. You don't put the 2 leg lamps together.
I guess. I didn't think about that.
Can't have Uncle Charlie over.
You definitely learn something about people if you do that.
Oh, yeah. You're like,
how do you turn this on? Whoa, there.
Yeah, when you pull it, it should go like, woo, hey.
Yeah. Some sound
eyes
effects.
up here. All right, when we come back, we're going to elevate the show. This is Measure Twice. Welcome back to Measure Twice. I am composed now after the last segment. I'm Rob Perugini, along with Joel Graber from Graber Customer Modeling and Chris Kramer from C. Kramer Interiors. This is the show that used to help you envision your home's potential. You're listening to us on Machinist News Talk 95.3 MNC. What?
We're just giving all kinds of useful tips here.
If you were with this last segment, you need to... We're not going to go back into it.
No.
We're brought to you in part by, proudly brought to you by Leatherman Supply. Everything, windows, doors, cabinets, and countertops with the showroom now open in Granger, right next to C. Kramer Interiors and Hoosier Hardwood Floors. Michiana's trusted and valued experts on hardwood floors. You could visit them at HoosierHardwoodFloors.com. We will move along from lamps.
All right.
We're talking about scale and we pick on the living room, but we touched on kitchens for a little bit. And where does scale come in kitchens? If you're just off the top of your head, like what's the start of scale in a kitchen? Like in a living room, it's furniture. In a kitchen, it's
I don't know. I guess I'd defer to Chris too, but I would think appliances and fixtures.
Yes. Mainly fixtures. Appliances, you're kind of working with certain increments.
Right.
So I guess in a kitchen, scale, where would scale come in? If you have a small kitchen and you put like a 48-inch refrigerator in, that would throw off your scale, overpower the room. That would throw off your scale.
There's a lot of that, too, because if you look at the Sub-Zeros and the Vikings, they've gone to that double door that's like, it's like a cathedral door. They're giant.
So, I mean, appliances can, that's the one I think of them. And a stove, too.
So when you say
48, 60.
When you say small kitchen, you're saying the room of the kitchen is small.
Your footprint is small. And if you have, put a oversized appliances in, first of all, you're losing cabinetry.
Yeah.
And then visually it's throwing off the scale. And then that starts to disrupt. It goes on down the line of disrupting. So when you say fixtures, give me some examples of how the fixtures.
Like with your plumbing fixtures, even like your lighting. Fixtures.
You could overscale your lighting.
Especially, let's say you have an island, you have pendants.
Or you can underscale.
Yeah.
So your pendants are too small.
Right.
Or too big.
Either way.
And you just. So can you have too many pendants?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You can. And you can have too few, I suppose, if you.
Well, you have one that would look a little underscaled.
Underscaled.
Scale that up there.
Pendants are that slippery slope because when you're in the store looking at a pendant, it's so wild. I guess we haven't really talked about this too much, but the light that the pendant is throwing off is hard to scale when you're in a showroom.
Mm-hmm.
Like you bring it home, I think there's like a drum roll when you turn that thing on.
Not just pendants, but bath lights too. I mean, you have to be really careful with what you're putting in a bathroom as far as how much light they're putting off.
Because there's scale to lighting too.
Right.
You can have too much light.
Or not enough. Mainly it's not enough.
It's not enough. But the lighting is different from place to place, like room to room.
Right.
How the room takes the light is
correct. And the task that each room requires, the lighting is based on the task of each space.
I think you're right. Bathrooms, it probably shows up
the most. I mean, that's where we look at the most. What are the lumens? What is, how does this equate to the proper light? So bathrooms in particular. And you'll see a bath fixture that's specifically for a bathroom, and you look at the lumens, you're going, that's not very bright. Like maybe an equivalent of a 60-watt bulb. So that's not enough to shave and put makeup on. You need more. You need some there's a purpose, in that room that you need to know. Right.
You don't want to be surprised when you look in the mirror in the dressing room area and be like, "Oh my goodness, I'm a clown."
Well, it's really critical, mainly for women putting on makeup, things of that nature, because if they don't have the proper lighting, they get shadows. It might.
Yeah, look, you can look crazy.
Right.
And is that too harsh? I don't know.
Not crazy, but it may not. You may not have the balance that you want or you're trying to go for. It makes it harder.
But I'm going to throw this out there as a avid cook. If your lighting in the kitchen isn't technically right, your food can look weird.
Yes,
that's true.
And I'm telling you can't really tell if something's browned properly.
Yep, that's true.
The light is very important. I think stove lighting is just such an afterthought when it shouldn't be. You can have specific task lighting built into your hoods, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you should.
Absolutely.
Because you need to know what's going on that stove. Yep. And then you can just turn them off when you're done, and then they're gone. But in the meantime, you need to see.
Yep.
Honestly, and it didn't, you get to a certain age, Joel will know someday, when your eyes, you don't see things close up very well, and light is very important.
I haven't gotten there yet.
She hasn't gotten there yet. That's adorable.
Yeah.
That's adorable.
Not there yet.
Chris is the Italian Peter Pan.
Yes, he is.
The Italian Peter Pan.
Well, we're short, a little aggravated. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
No, but scale with lighting is something that you're right. It might, I guess, for the living room too, though.
Any
room.
You can't have pendant lights that are like, operatory level lumens, right? You don't want super bright white light behind you when you're sitting on the couch.
There's just a lot to consider when you're, like, for example, if you're putting pendant lights in, I don't like to see light bulbs. I don't like light bulbs glaring in my eyes.
Me neither. That's a pet peeve of mine.
So I like light fixtures that you don't see the bulb, that are either the type of glass or the type of shade that's on it that gives you a softer glow, but still gives you downlight that's appropriate for your task.
Right. Yeah, we just got me in an argument with my wife because after the show, I'm going to go home and I'm going to say, told you so. But I digress. But when we talk scale for lighting, each room has a little different scale for lighting. I want to know, walk-in closet is that is pure task light, right?
I would say so.
When you say,
definitely,
because it's important to know
what else. Yeah.
Well, when we go and like we're those people that waste realtors' time. I'm sorry. We go to open houses and look around. I don't see a tremendous amount of task lights in walk-in closets. I'm like, it's just like light.
Well, I mean, describe light.
There's the meaning like the light's just on in there and you can see, but you can't really. You're not really getting anything done. You might have to walk into a different room and like hold up what you're.
Oh, that's not
you're
good.
getting shadows.
Yeah,
or just
you're getting shadows.
It's not placed appropriately.
Clothes are hanging. Light is above it. You have a shadow.
Well, and
how do you avoid that? I guess?
Recess lighting is not good for a closet.
Well, then what are you left with?
Flush mounts or semi-flush mounts, something that gives you more light that spreads versus because a can light just shoots straight down and then it kind of cones out as it spreads to the floor. It's not lighting your clothing.
Right.
But now what we're doing,
you have to backlight your hanging rods.
Yep.
And
that's just what I was going to say. That's what we're doing now is with LED strip lights. We're lighting inside all the closet cabinetry.
So you got your hanging clothes. Is the light is above where the hanger attaches to the rod?
The light is behind the hanging rod and shines into the cavity of the closet.
And then, so when you separate to look at it,
you could do some on the face, on the back side of the face of the cabinet too, so that that still wouldn't be like you would need other light as well, but that helps to offset some of the
overhead light.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And eliminate some of the effects that a shadow would have on on your clothes. But this is all stuff to think about, and it is all scale because the walk-in closet can be a bright room. It can be bright.
It should be.
It should be. Your bedroom doesn't need to be a bright room.
No.
Now, maybe if you're reading, you might have a reading light that's a task light.
Reading in your bedroom is like, I guess if you're just trying to go to sleep.
People who like reading.
They like to read in their bedroom.
Yeah.
I cannot. I cannot. A specific chair.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. Reading is a great way to go night-night. But thanks for listening to Measure Twice.
Podcasts by Federated Media.